This is a 2020 NV200 I bought for work. I'm going to be doing a lighting video. The inside lights in the back are pitiful on this. I don't know how they would make a work vehicle with 3 little incandescent lights. They're yellow, they're dim. So I got some pod lights off of Amazon, a couple switches. I went ahead and did the wiring. It's too hard to get inside, pull the wires, fish them around. This took about 6 hours because I kind of did it right. Well, I call it right. You might be able to do it in half the time. But I took a little bit longer, drilled some holes, fished some wires around. If you didn't want to fish the wires through the chassis and stuff, you could probably just put the wires on the outside. The factory wiring is loose anyhow on the inside of the van. It was really, it's really a work vehicle. Okay, just for comparison, this is the factory lights. Once I turn the LEDs on, there's absolutely no comparison to the two. LED, OEM. Now that's 4 pod lights. And even side by side, you can tell the difference. The old yellow lights, not even close. That's the relay. And I'm going to go over in a little bit how we wired it up. But again, LED, non-LED. Now I did this vehicle in a couple different segments, so it's going to be kind of weird. The lights are already in. The factory harness runs up and along the inside of this. So basically I used the factory harness, and what I did is I took out the middle light. I put a relay here. So basically my relay has hot going to it all the time. I ran ground wires to my switches. So I put a switch on this side, switch on that side, and I used the factory switch in the back. So what I've done is I've taken the power from right here. This was my main line going in. I pulled the power over to a relay switch. Now, without making a total mess here, basically I have a hot wire going into my relay, a ground wire going into my relay. This comes from the main power source. So when the lights time out, they still time out. I jumped the power wire from here to my switch side. And what I did with my switches, I ran one wire into the switch, which is my ground, and then I grounded it to the chassis. So basically, there's no hot going to the switch. The switch is just breaking ground. So the way the relay works, the relay is always energized, so there's power going here all the time. I pulled one ground wire right here, and I spliced all 3 of my switches into the ground. So essentially what I'm doing, by turning the switch on and off, I'm breaking the ground. So I can put as many switches in here as I want, and you can hear the relay clicking off. So it works kind of like a flasher bulb. Now for the back one, again, same thing. I took the light bulb out and took the factory switch. I cut the hot wire from the factory switch. I ran another wire through the back here, fished it under all this. These knockouts pop right out. You can actually get your arm up in this thing. Fished the wire over here, cut the hot wire, and basically grounded this to my relay up there. So when I turn the switch on and off, all I'm doing is closing the relay towards the front of the vehicle. And again, switch on this side. So no matter which side I go to the vehicle on, I've got a light switch. Now the thing of it is once you create a ground with a relay, as of this, if I go over and turn the other switch on or off, nothing will short out, but I've created another ground, which means the lights will never go off. So the only downfall of using a relay is whichever switch you started with, that's the switch you have to turn off. Now back to the wiring. This single line is my ground going to my switch. Factory hot and ground going to here. I took a unibit and bored a bigger hole right here. I was going to try to get on here, but I couldn't do it, so I'm going to pop a little rubber grommet on there later. Just keep anything from rubbing. I'm going to take a white shipping label and put it over top of this. You'll never know it's there. Maybe a piece of white vinyl. I pulled all the snake skin off and reran my wires back to my LED pucks. The LED pucks just screwed right up into the chassis. You could mount these anywhere. I just did 4 points because it seemed like at the time it would work good, and it turned out, pretty phenomenal for me. I ran my last leg back here, and again I dropped it down to this point and then fished it over to the light switch. And that's how I did the lighting on the NV200. Hope you liked the video. I know I didn't go into real detail with it. Depending on your vehicle, I just bought this. I'm going to have it for probably 4 or 5 years. Again, if you wanted to, you could just take the harnesses, because they're already ran from the factory, put the LED lights on here, and you could probably be done in an hour, half hour maybe. This took about 5 hours to drill all the holes, fish all the wires, but the end result is pretty phenomenal. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Please click like and subscribe. The next project is going to be fog lights in the front.